This is Henry from New York, and I listen to the E.I.T.H.R podcast with my homie Decal.
You're listening to the E.I.T.H.R podcast with your host, Decal.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Decal, host of the E.I.T.H.R podcast here from the GNS HQ in Northern California. Hello and howdy. Listen, we normally do our podcast Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. However, there were some unforeseen issues that prevented us from doing it yesterday, so you're getting it a day later. But hey, better late than never, so they say. So here we are. Welcome to those who are new to the podcast. I want to give a shout out to some of the new listenership that we have. Long Beach, California. What up, LBC? Appreciate y'all. Also got some new listeners in Riverside. We also got some people in Scottsdale, Arizona. We also have some new people in, Houston, Texas. So thank you very much to adding to the E.I.T.H.R listening party. Appreciate that. To those of you who are returning, thank you very much for being here for episode 105 the E.I.T.H.R podcast, The Elephant in the Room. We talk about topics and discussions that are a little bit difficult and hard to have with people and your peers. Think of this podcast as the podcast where we're like that person who on Facebook actually reads the fucking article. So we talk about things to give you more of an insight or a perspective that you may not have had. Now, you may not agree, but at least you're going to have a different perspective on what you're disagreeing about. So we like to do this thing called shout outs, and we do inspirational and motivational to kind of get the podcast going. People tend to like that. So shout out I'm going to give is to the LA Lakers. They are up 3-1 against my Golden State Warriors team in the NBA playoffs. In LA, they took a 3-1 lead. Warriors had a chance to at least tie the series, but things didn't go that way. So they're now going to be coming back to San Francisco for Game 5. And we're going to see if the Warriors can make this 3-2, or we're going to see if the Warriors season comes to an end. So I want to give a shout out to the LA Lakers. I am not a Laker fan in any way, shape, or form, but I am mature enough to understand a healthy AD makes a big difference in the NBA. So there's your credit. Enough said. Check the tape. It's recorded. It's in the cloud. Everyone knows it. I can't deny it. I probably still will, giving y'all credit, but here we are. Now, inspirational, motivational, you can go ahead and peep this out on our Instagram, or you can even follow us on Twitter, which is the E.I.T.H.R, THEEITHR. And so I put this post, and a few people liked it. It says, it's uncomfortable being great. And anyone who has ever done anything that people have fell short of doing understands how uncomfortable great is. I mean, if you look at the late Kobe Bryant, if you look at Michael Jordan, if you look at Derek Jeter, if you look at Mike Tyson, if you look at Muhammad Ali said he hated every day of training. He despised it. He couldn't stand it. But it allowed him to do the things that his opponent was not able to do in the ring. And practice and discipline and consistency, none of that shit is going to be enjoyable. It's miserable being disciplined, and we all are guilty of doing what feels better. And understand something. Tomorrow is the lazy man's favorite day of the week. And if you put something off tomorrow to make it easier today, you'll never get done. Because the difficult thing is doing what you don't want to do today. Doing what's hard today makes it easy for tomorrow. So it is uncomfortable to be great because there's a lot of sacrifices that you may not want to make in order to do that. So everyone has their definition of what they want to be great. Everyone has their definition of a goal that they want to achieve. So just keep in mind, it's going to be uncomfortable. But if you do it today, imagine where you would be next year. And if next year seems, oh man, that shit's too far. That's a whole year away. Imagine where you are today and where you could have been had you done it last year. So time it's based on perspective and how you perceive it. So, like I said, it's uncomfortable being great. And sometimes you got to get up earlier. Sometimes you got to get up later. Sometimes you got to do things you don't want to do in order to have the things that you wish you could. So, grind and hustle, that way your reality comes better than your dreams. That's the definition of great. So whatever that may be. So, again, follow us on the social media, the E.I.T.H.R, T-H-E, E.I.T.H.R on Twitter, on Instagram. You can also check us out on gnsetv.com, which is our TV streaming channel. We're going to be uploading some episodes up on that, working on a new playlist for artists. If you get the chance and get the time, make sure you peep out the sponsor that we're going to have right here. We're going to get into the topic of ChatGBT and how that's entering the entertainment world. We're going to talk about the Writers Guild strike that they have. We're going to talk about some things going on. Students are losing their damn mind, and teachers are handcuffed, and I feel bad for being anybody who's an educator in today's world, because you're literally bound with the expectations of keeping kids' attention. It's your boy D-Cal here at the E.I.T.H.R Podcast. We'll be right back.
There's nothing more sexier than a person who is confident. Especially confident without having to say it. You can just tell. How they walk, how they talk, even how they casually dress. T-shirt and jeans. Yeah, see, to me, that's confident while comfy. Jot this down and check these out. Go online to mile.today. Again, that's mile.today. MILE.today. A GNS collection.
Welcome back to the E.I.T.H.R Podcast with your boy D-Cal. So we're going to get into this ChatGBT. Listen, this thing is crazy, right? The world of artificial intelligence. We knew we were getting here back when we were children watching the Jetsons. So we knew this was going to happen. I think what happens is, though, the people, the brass in charge, they didn't expect for it to grow so quickly and so to advance so rapidly. And so there's a lot of issues. Again, a lot of the things that we find out in the news and what we read in articles, that's delayed information. Very few times is it breaking. It's breaking to us, but it's not necessarily breaking to the industry, if that kind of makes sense, where they have to sort and sift through what they want to be released to the public, so that way crucial information doesn't get released and all hell breaks loose, right? So ChatGBT has been something that's been a thing for a while. It's just the public, we didn't know really what it was. And so one of the biggest fears, another fear, I should say, of ChatGPT is in the entertainment world. And so that's part of the reason why there's a strike with the writers. And before I get to the writer section of it, kind of just break down ChatGPT. Majority of us have seen the movie Black Panther 2, right? Wakanda Forever. In that film, where you have the crowd of people that were battling, whether it was Namor's folks or when they were battling on the ship or any of that, majority, come to find out, was artificial intelligence. They weren't actors. Now, some of the main characters, sure. M'Baku, Okoye, those folks, yes, those were actual people. But majority of, I don't want to say background dancers, but majority of the people that were in the cuts battling, that turned out to be AI, right? When you see audiobooks, when you're able to have your phone or your tablet or whatever read an audiobook to you, that is a form of AI, right? So just ChatGPT, which is at this point in time the most advanced version of this kind of thing, we've already discussed in previous episodes how it's able to get to the point where it can rationalize. You have a conversation, okay? And the responses aren't responses that's necessarily provided by, they are, but they're not. They're given to the programmers and people who are developing the system, the program. But at the rate of how the program is able to understand and process and give responses is faster than what they're expecting. And it's becoming more of okay, if you remember the movie, and I'm a movie person, so I give movie analogies for those who don't know. Best way to describe it. If you've seen the Avengers, Age of Ultron, Age of Ultron, when Ultron and Jarvis were having that conversation, when you first were introduced to who Ultron was as a character, he was doing all this research to find out who the Avengers were. In Peace in Our Time, and that's how he discovered who Tony Stark was, and that's when he attacked Jarvis, and in a very mythical, sci-fi, oversimplified version. That's an example of what's going on with ChatGPT. If you remember iRobot, where they had Vicky, that's another oversimplification of ChatGPT. So how it's able to get this information, but then it's able to reach out and find information on its own, kind of being self-sufficient, they're afraid it's going to be able to get into information that they don't want it to have access to, and they can't control it. So when it comes to the entertainment business, you have versions that can write a paper. If you need an essay, I'm just making up a name. So let's say I have a AI ChatGPT assistant in the office, and I call it Darling. Just make it up a situation. And I say, hey, Darling, do me a favor. Can you write a paper on elephants? And if elephants are coming extinct, and what's the different species of elephants, and what's the significance of elephants to our environment, or something about bumblebees, if bees are in danger, how that can harm human race as a whole, as an entirety, if the bees are in danger. And I can say that to Darling. And Darling would literally write up a paper. Now, there's going to be bits and pieces that it's not going to have because of the stage of where the intelligence is, but is able to give me enough information so I can pass the assignment, or things I can now look for to research on my own to get further information. It's done bulk of the work for me. You have AI that's doing this in law firms where it's writing dissertations. The attorney has to go back and kind of fill in certain pieces, but as they say, it's giving the bones of the information on here. So it's making jobs significantly easier, which is good. But when you're getting a job here, someone's losing a job there. So this is now tying into the Writers Guild. So the Writers Guild, this is kind of like the collection of writers. This is like their club, if you will, for lack of a better term. A lot of shows, whether it's late nights, whether it's sitcoms, whatever the case may possibly be, writers are crucial because we see the actor, we see the actress, we see the quote unquote on stage, on camera talent. That's what we see. What we don't see are the people behind the scenes that are making them look good, sound good. The jokes, the bantering, the volleys of the conversation going back and forth. That's kind of where the writers come into play. So if you have a crappy writer, you're going to probably have a crappy character, which is going to probably lead to a crappy show, which is going to lead to that crappy show getting canceled, right? It's no different than an artist having just crappy lyrics because it was a poor writer, or a writer that didn't write it catering to a certain market that they're gearing towards. So what the writers are afraid of, this is not the main reason, but it's a huge reason, is with ChatGBT. Because you have the technology and the ability with the intelligence to write something. There are certain places now that could use this intelligence to write scripts, to write screenplays, and could put writers out of business, right? So that's a job security. And I understand that as intelligence advances and goes on, some jobs will be lost, so that way other jobs are gained. That's just how society flows all through time, right? From the horse and buggy to the automobile to the airplane, the aircraft, the raft, the boat, the ships, the yachts, helicopters, everything is advanced. Someone lost something so someone else can gain as time moves on. That's inevitable. But as I said, with these writers, it's important because it's the essence of how things have, I don't say always worked, but it's the essence of how everything's always worked. So, one thing when it comes to copyright, however, copyright is when I write something, an original piece, and I'm able to protect that. So if, let's say for example, GNS Publishing writes something for fill in the blank, a book, or for a show, or for anything related to GNS Entertainment, it belongs to the company. It belongs to the parent company, the GNS Inc., right? Just like the E.I.T.H.R podcast belongs to the GNS Inc., right? So it's protected. So if a writer writes something for a studio, it belongs to that studio. Now, what the studio may want to do is, again, with ChatGPT, is have this artificial intelligence create a script, create a screenplay, a stage play, something, for entertainment purposes, to where now we can eliminate the writers. We don't need to pay you because we now have a system that we can create to generate exactly what you can do. It's more cost efficient. But apparently, I was listening to this show. I listen to it every Saturday. It's called All Things Legal. And it's hosted by Ashton Price. And they talk about certain things that's going on in the world, so on and so forth. So this was one of the things they talked about, where if something is completely written by AI, it does not have the ability to be copywritten. So if anything entirely written by AI, there's no copyright protection. So that's the downside. That's kind of where the writers can have the stronghold. Here's what I mean by example. Again, if AI came in and wrote something for Genius Entertainment, a show, a movie, a sitcom, a pilot, whatever it may be, and they wrote that, I don't have to pay a writer to do it because AI did it for me. But because it was written by artificial intelligence, it's not protected by anything. I cannot copyright that. I cannot trademark that. I cannot protect it with my company. So another company can come by and say, oh, we want to do the exact same thing. We're just going to split the characters up. If it's written by me, by an individual, or someone underneath the Genius Publishing or Genius Entertainment, it's owned by the company. Right? Because an actual person wrote that for us. We protected it. So we're the only one who can distribute this. We're the only one who can produce this. We're the only ones who can do something similar or anything like this. It's protected by having a writer do it, an actual human being write this. So, even if you have ChatGBT doing something like this, as long as you have writers there to add to it, edit it, correct it, tweak it, start it, finish it, somewhere involved in it, that's kind of where they're having these conversations to include this in their new contract for job security, for job protection. And I personally think it's smart. I think it's brilliant. I think, yeah, do that. You guys definitely should do that. Because otherwise, you're not only going to be lost, SOL out of the job, but again, the studios are going to be stupid. Because if Universal writes something, Fox can turn around and take it. And there's legally nothing they can do, at least at this point in time. So that's kind of where that goes into. But I think it's important to understand that, man, because if you like a show, another studio can take that creative idea and they could ruin it, right? They can ruin it. And it can water down the purity or the creativity of something. And that can hurt significantly the entertainment industry. Right? So that's that. Decal here on the E.I.T.H.R podcast. You can find us on Spreaker, iHeartRadio, as well as Spotify. You can follow us on social media, Twitter, Instagram with the E.I.T.H.R, E.I.T.H.R. I want to talk about the next thing over here is, oh, by the way, the last time we had an episode, we were talking about the serial killer in Davis, California, who was killing supposed women. They found that prick, so he's in custody. I don't want to spend too much time on him, but if you are interested in knowing more about him, you can look his punk ass up. 21-year-old, of course, mental issues. We'll just leave it at that. So, Next thing I want to bring up is this right here. Did anyone see the video of the, I want to say high school student? It had to be like a freshman, maybe a sophomore, pepper spraying her teacher because he took away her phone because she wasn't listening. Yo, I put this thing on the IG for the E.I.T.H.R. And I was like, has it always been this way? Or is it more, is it worse now? Or has it gotten, is it the same, just being more recorded, right? Has it always been this way and we just not pay attention to it? Or is the fact that we're recording everything and we're seeing it more directly in our faces? And everyone's kind of saying, you know, we were never this way, we were never this bad. And I understand. Part of me feels, well, I don't know. I think because we only knew what we only knew, we didn't see it react this way. We didn't see nothing turn out this way. We didn't see things become this way because we didn't have such a scale of seeing what's going on in the next city as we do with everything being streamed and viewed, right? So I like to believe it was different. I like to believe because, you know, you could discipline a kid differently back in the 90s if we acted this way. There was a difference in discipline. There was a difference in us understanding consequences. There was a difference when it came down to what parents and teachers could do. That is a significant difference. I feel being that there is cameras, it does make it more sketch, because hearing a story is one thing, right? You hear something, you process it in your mind, you know, you see it the way your brain processes it, you know, in your own head. Okay, cool, no big deal. But to see it on your phone, to watch it video, it does have a little extra and kind of go back in time real quick and say, with the Ray Rice situation, when you heard about he and his wife, girlfriend, fiance, whichever title it was for them, you know, the quote unquote NFL didn't bat an eye, no one was really tripping off of it. There's like, okay, well, you know, it happens, you know, this, that, and the other. Whether you're for or against it, you know, that's irrelevant, you know. But once we saw the video from the elevator, then it became, everyone clutched their pearls. Then it became, get rid of him. He doesn't deserve to be in the NFL. He doesn't deserve to have a career. She should do this. Well, it was because we physically saw it, which changed the game on that man's career and his relationship and our perception about him. So I think when we see things, we treat it differently than when we hear about it, possibly because we related to what we observe in our own world. So now that we're able to see everything, do we tend to kind of swoop everything under the same judgment. Right or wrong, you know, it is what it is. But it is difficult, I feel, because those who are in charge, those who deem as, you know, instructors or anybody who is a role of significance, such as a teacher, their hands are tied. And it's weird because, like I said, we live in a world right now where everything can be seen, and once we see it, it changes the dynamic of how we judge it. So possibly because of the optics of certain situations, teachers probably have their hands tied because of how it may view to people, which takes us back to a time of where we didn't see none of this. So our brains, like I said a couple minutes ago, we equate it to a different type of, I won't say discipline, but a different level of discipline, a different level of respect. Because we didn't see people wilding out. We heard about people wilding out. And so those stories were crazy to us. They were foreign to us. Now students wilding out on teachers has become normal. And then when you get a teacher who, fights back, that teacher is disciplined. Speaking of teachers, when I have these conversations with the teacher, again, it's so sad. Like the one person who is attempting to educate your child has no support or help from the parents. Now, I know that there's parents out there who help, who aid, who assist the teacher. I know there's parents out there who engage and invest in their child, doing their homework, doing their assignment, doing everything that is needed to be done after school. I 100% get that. But when you see a child, first of all, why the fuck is a student recording this? Let's start there. Right? When you see a student who is being recorded, obviously by another student, pepper spraying a teacher for taking away the cell phone, that right there is a couple of issues I have. One, first thing you do is pull your phone out. Because that's a whole other gamut of questions, a whole other brand of can of worms, right? Because we live in a world where someone is getting assaulted, someone is getting beat up, someone is losing their life, someone is drowning in a pool or at the beach. And the first thing you want to do is put this on your Facebook Live? Somebody's getting shot and you want to sit there and record it? So you can post it on your IG for views? And of course you're going to get people who, they just have to make the funniest joke. They just have to make the comment of fill in the blank to get the most attention, to get the double tap, right? And then when someone sheds light on the severity or the importance of what's being seen, they just have to respond with you being way too serious. Again, what the fuck are we doing when you got kids pepper spraying the teacher because they are on their cellular device? I'm guessing during class when they should be paying attention. If the teacher asks you to get off your phone, in many cases, it's probably because you're a student who's constantly on your phone and you need to get off of your phone. That could be the first thing I'm thinking. Now, of course, there's always going to be exceptions to the rule. There could be anything else going on. But just pepper spray the teacher. There was another video of two students fighting in the class. And the teacher, she goes to break up the fight. And she gets caught in the melee trying to break up the fight. And I don't remember if the one student who was able to stand up, he was swinging on the other student around the teacher, or if he started swinging on the teacher too. Why did no one stop this kid? We had to record it. See, it's interesting. Eminem once said, it's cool to be the player, but it sucks to be the played. And what I mean by that is that it's cool to record someone else getting their ass whooped. But if it was you in that situation, you would wish someone put down the phone to help you out. We want our cake and eat it too. We want fast food and lose weight. You can't have both at the same time, you know? Like, what is this? Did anyone see the video of the teacher getting cussed out by the elementary school student? I'm going to start a new TikTok challenge. Parents, if you're listening to this, here's a new TikTok challenge for you. TikTok challenge you disciplining your badass kid for doing something wrong. Can we do that? Is that cool? Is that something the world is up to seeing? Can we discipline the children for doing something stupid? Listen, there's no damn way parents are not finding out about the behavior of their children. The school is telling them. And you mean to tell me right now that there's no way for the school to confiscate the kids' cell phone that I feel that they should be having anyway? But I'm old school with that. And being able to go to their social media, have them go to their social media to show you the video that they posted in class. So the kid who's recording the shit, his parents, her parents can see. The kid who was also involved in the melee, their parents can see this shit. Start a TikTok trend where kids are getting called out. This is Decal, and this is my daughter such and such. Today at school, she thought it was fun for somebody to get their ass beat. So here's what we gonna do. I have some of the neighbors' kids. You see them right here. They have their phones. I'm gonna have one of the neighbor kids my phone. Their parents know they're over here, so everyone's on the up and up. And they're gonna watch my kid do chore. Put on boxing gloves with another kid. Something. Right? So now so what y'all gonna do is you're gonna watch my daughter do fill in the blank. And this is going to be on my Facebook Live. This is going on my IG Live. This is going on livestream gnsetv.com. Free subscription. Check it out. Or whatever the case may possibly be. My daughter, most likely, I ain't got to worry about Jalen doing something stupid like that, but hypothetically speaking, she would be embarrassed, especially if it's one of those, like I said, you're going to put on boxing gloves and tussle with this particular student. And watch her get her ass whooped and know if being recorded, if being live, if being streamed, that embarrassment hopefully will make her realize at what point did you feel embarrassed knowing that the world is watching you go at you? Oh, right away. And I guess that's how the teacher said that no one hopes them with exercise. How would you feel if someone wants to make fun of you? Oh, her vibe. She was feeling herself. Expeditiously, she was feeling herself. And then out of nowhere, off the top rope comes the girl who was sitting down, her friend. And oh boy, did the table turn. Because now the chef is being fed her course meal. And the outcome looked very similar. But the players were different. So the teacher came and broke that up. And the second girl, the one who started the fight initially, and according to the video, you could tell she was now embarrassed because she lost the fight that she started with the smaller girl, and now her bigger friend came to rescue. I don't condone, I don't say this is right. I don't think none of that shit should have happened. But to be honest with you, hopefully the second girl learned a lesson. If someone doesn't want to be bothered, don't bother them. And I don't think the third girl who came in was right, and only she was wrong, except in the sense of she did something. She saw her friend getting assaulted, right, beat up, fighting in a fight that she didn't want to fight. You can clearly see she didn't want to fight this. And the table turned. Hopefully, all three of them have, reformed against violence and became friends, and now starting a self-defense class together, right? But it just goes to show that if we don't hear about it, we identify to what we think it is. But when we see shit, our judgment, our perception changes everything, right? So, what's going on with these students today? Is the dopamine, and being that they're young adolescents, young teenagers, they don't really understand what that is, not a process, the emotions and feelings going through their bodies and through their lives, and everything changing and blah, 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 blah. Is that the case? Is that the situation? Is it us as parents not having the time to explain what these changes and what these feelings are to the kids in a way to where they can understand it? I mean, I have my own conspiracy theories about the whole thing, personally. But what say you guys? What do you think the problem is? Part of me, I kind of see it as everybody wants to be famous. Everybody wants that talk about me. Everybody wants that moment to where the world recognizes them. In their mind, this is how celebrity stardom is. In their mind. That's exactly how it works. Social media is how people get known, how people get seen, how people get discovered. This is how you become I'm just being tongue-in-cheek, an influencer, a celebrity, right? And growing up with these terms, they're being watered down because everyone can become anything nowadays, it seems. But teachers need help. Teachers need help. They sincerely do. Because their hands are tied. And I don't think going to the next thing I want to talk about real quick before we end this episode. A 14-year-old girl was shot. And she was shot for playing a game of hide and seek. With a bunch of kids running, playing hide and go seek, and the gentleman who was inside the house, he saw shadows on his property, wasn't sure who was what was where, went and got his gun, saw people running from his property, so ipso facto, he shot at the crowd of people and struck a 14-year-old girl in the head. According to the article, 14-year-old girl has non-life-threatening injury. That's good, right? But we don't look at what we're shooting at anymore. We just say thug life and unload the clip. Is that what we're doing? Is that the world we're in? Okay, cool. I'm not laughing at the situation. I'm laughing at the mindset, right? So it's so this is on ABC News. The article, I just want to make sure I give credit to the person, is by E.I.T.H.R. I hope I didn't butcher your name, Miss E.I.T.H.R. And so, kind of further into the article, it says, the shooting unfolded early Sunday morning at a home in Starks near the Louisiana-Texas border. The Cashew Parish Sheriff Office said, I know I fucked that word up, and I'm sorry. I'm extremely sorry if you live there. Leave me a voice clip on how to pronounce it correctly so that way I don't make that mistake again. Several children were playing hide and seek in the area and were hiding on a neighbor's property, the sheriff said. The property owner, 58-year-old David Doyle, told police he saw shadows outside his home and he went to get his gun, according to the sheriff's office. When Doyle went back outside, he saw people running away from his property, at which time he began shooting at them and unknowingly hit the girl. Doyle was arrested and charged with aggravated battery, 4 counts of aggravated assault with a firearm, and illegal discharge of a firearm, according to the sheriff's office. And it says this incident comes in the wake of a string of similar incidents where seemingly ordinary mistakes led to shootings. Last month, 2 Texas cheerleaders were shot after one of them said they mistakenly got into the wrong car in a parking lot, and a young woman was shot and killed in rural upstate New York while she was in a car that mistakenly pulled into the wrong driveway. I remember that particular story. They were going someplace, and the guy, I think her boyfriend got shot too. Unfortunately, she was the one who got shot and killed for pulling into the wrong driveway. This type of thing happens in like far up north California too, like in Humboldt County, where a lot of these streets are kind of like dirt road, gravel road, where there's not a lot of street signs, and the address may be difficult to find. So if you pull into the driveway as if you're making a 3-point turn, back then there were some growers and that was their income. So it was very common for people to go into people's property and try to steal their harvest because that's money. I just don't like the fact that you see a car pull into your driveway and you start dumping on the motherfucker. Like, what? How is that? Again, I'm not up there. I'm not in that world. I'm not from there, so I can't necessarily pass a judgment as I'm about to pass a judgment. I don't understand that mindset, but I get it. If you've experienced that, that's kind of where you instinctively go to. But again, man, like, I'm not trying to be old dude yelling at cloud, but it's like, We live in a world where everything you see is negative, and everything you see is derogatory, and everything you see is possibly degrading. And so when you see people doing shit like this, it's kind of sad. We get to a point where you think worst case scenario right off the rip. I am no different. However, I do my best, however, to eliminate that becoming the main thought process of what's going on. I do my best to eliminate that being the sole reason something is going on. So I do my best to, if I have that thought, okay, what else could it be? Okay, let's think something else. What else is an option? What else could be an option? What else is the option? Okay, let's run with this. Let's look at it this way. And I feel that's one good thing about the E.I.T.H.R podcast is I may have a belief, a perception of what something is. But I'm going to do my best to sit back and say, okay, hold up. Let's look at it from a different angle, right? Because I don't want that to be the it. And a lot of us, once we get an idea in our head, that's it. That it is the it. And we don't think of anything else but that it. And we run with that it. And if someone happens to present another alternative option besides it, we don't want to hear it. We think it's bullshit. But I feel there's been enough trauma in people's lives to where, okay, I get that thought process, bro, but we gotta switch it up because the planet is bigger than the world you live in. And there's a multitude of different possibilities. Even though it may seem, it may view, it may look, it may appear to be, it doesn't necessarily mean that it is. And it is very risky. It is very scary. But life's a risk or not. If you're old enough to know where that line comes from, you're a real one. But you have to, let me take it back. One should take that risk to learn, oh, it may not be this. And a lot of us do that judgment because it helps protect us, it keeps us safe. And again, I get that. But there's also a situation where it cuts off your path to realizing, oh, there's a whole nother destination that this could have took me to. Instead of me being fearful and thinking this was the only way, right? Again, not to be old man yelling at cloud, but social media does do this from time to time. And I noticed this one too when it comes to TikTok. You can also follow us on TikTok at the GNS Inc, THEGNSINC, where if I tend to look at certain videos, certain type of videos, certain style of videos, like battle rap or relationship videos, whether I meant to or not, I notice that whenever I go into that app, it shows me those type of videos on my timeline. I may not even know the person who's posting the video, but the algorithm has basically told the app, Decal watches these type of videos, so show him these videos. And I peeped that a few months ago, right? Because I noticed that there were certain videos and certain people who were talking about, how men ain't shit videos. And I would listen to the videos because I want to be informed. Like, why are these women saying men ain't shit? What are men doing that, A, women don't understand, B, men are doing it, there's idiots and haven't figured out women don't like this. Then I started noticing after a couple of weeks, I'm getting these videos constantly in my feed whenever I scroll up. I'm like, okay, this isn't, okay. So then I had to start watching something completely different. And then I started getting a flood of those type of videos in my timeline. I'm like, okay, so that's what the algorithm's doing. It's basically saying, you like these, so we're going to show you this. I'm not going to sit back and say that's a bad thing, but it is something that I caught. Okay, maybe it's the cookies, right? And with that said, it is a reminder that if people only see this on their feed, these algorithms are going to be geared to showing you that type of video. So if it's, check this out, if it's a news, white man kills black man in a fight. White man kills black girl playing a game. Black child dies at the hand of a cop. If you watch these videos, guess what the algorithm is going to show you? If you watch videos, black man burglarizes White House. Not the White House, but a White's house. Black man kills another black man in Black City. Right? Black man disrespects U.S. military soldier. Mexican does, fill in the blank, bro. If you watch those type of videos, that's what your timeline is going to get fed with. So with that said, my man saw shadows, my man saw people running. He probably, and again, I know in Willits, California, my homegirl Meredith was telling me, the news is their outlet. That is their resource for the world. When she lived there years ago, before she moved to Florida. So, in certain rural areas that are too far, quote unquote, from the major cities and their small towns, like when I lived in Oregon, there's Drain, Oregon, there's Doncala, Oregon, there's Crestwell, there's Roseburg, there's all these small towns, Grants Pass, just to name a few. You don't have outlet to the major cities. So your outlet is social media and news. Well, if all you see is a certain type of news being reported, a certain type of video on your timeline, again, then these algorithms are set to show you what you seem to be interested in. That's all you're going to see. So my man in this rural town in the borderline of Louisiana and Texas probably only gets news about fill in the blank. So then you see kids, I'm sure there was, you could probably tell what type of kids they were by the laughing, by what they were saying. Louisiana might have a certain slang or a certain accent that Texas doesn't, so you're able to tell where they're possibly from. So we already have a stereotype. You already have a prejudice, right? Not necessarily racial related, but a prejudice based on what he said. And again, it could have been racially related, depending on what was going on, and what he knows, and what he's seen, and what he's thinking, and what he's being reported, what he's observed. So therefore, he went out and did what he thought in his mind took place. I am not justifying what he did. What I am saying is, okay, that's probably why. I'm not excusing him. Some people want to sit back and say, are you justifying this motherfucker for doing it? No, I'm not justifying what he's doing. What I'm saying is, this could be the cause of it. Right? Because like I said myself, man, if I'm watching a whole bunch of men ain't shit and women are hoes videos, because I'm trying to understand why people are thinking this way about the opposite sex. My social media is going to assume this is what I'm interested in watching. So it's like reality TV shows. I think reality TV shows are stupid. They're a waste of time, and they're meant to just dumb us down. But they're entertaining for a lot of people. And in many cases, it makes a lot of people feel better about their lives, so they watch it. And I'm like, you understand this shit's scripted. These celebrities who are worth hundreds of millions of dollars are doing this just to laugh at you, laughing at them. Right? Kylie Jenner is a billionaire because she used these shows to promote her makeup. I don't understand why. Anyway, that's a different story. but again, he probably was exposed to that type of information, and he made an assessment based on the information in which he's been present to have. Right or wrong, that's what he's been shown. So again, this is not old man yelling at cloud. This is old men yelling about the cloud. We have to be more aware about what we see. Kids, they see other students doing dumb shit at school. They have their peers talking about that dumb shit that they also saw at school. When you're at that age, you want to be popular. You want to be accepted. No world matters except the world that you live in. And at that point, it's the world of friends and popularity and not being made fun of. So you try to do whatever you can to make a name for yourself amongst your peers. Maybe there should be a little bit more regulatory on what underage kids should be able to have access to seeing and viewing. I still like the idea, though, of embarrassing your kid. When it comes down to make sure that they don't do anything that's harmful. And if they want to make a name for themselves, okay, you can make a name for yourself while doing this. If that makes any sense to anybody. That's just my take. That's how I see it. That's my perspective. What do you guys think? You're more than welcome to download the Spreaker app. You can chat with me here on episode 105 about any of the topics that we talked about. You can go ahead and follow us on social media, Instagram and Twitter at the E.I.T.H.R, E.I.T.H.R, GNSETV.com. Right now we have the Calm Within the Storm playlist still going. By the end of the week, we're going to be adding some content for the artists. So if you have any art or music or any makeup tutorials that you would like to get put on the TV streaming channel, you're more than welcome to do so. It's your boy D.Cal, the podcast. We're out. Until next time, you guys stay blessed, be good to one another. We out.